Are you and your partner about to file for a marriage-based green card? Before you dive in, there are a few critical mistakes couples make that can delay or even jeopardize the entire process. And these aren't just small oversights, they're common pitfalls that could cost you months of waiting and even jeopardize your approval. In today's video, we're breaking down the 4 biggest mistakes that can happen before you even file your paperwork. Hi, I'm Dixon, and together with Margarita, we've guided hundreds of couples through this journey using our Marriage Immigration Method program. Our program has helped immigrants just like Fabi here successfully secure green cards without a lawyer or making the common mistakes we'll be covering today. She even got her interview waived, so definitely check out our conversation with her. Now, let's dive in to the first mistake to avoid. And mistake number 1 is assuming all processes are the same. One of the biggest misconceptions we see is couples thinking that all immigration processes are pretty much the same. They might get advice from friends, family, or online groups and think, well, if that worked for them, it should work for us too, right? But the truth is, every immigration case is unique, and what worked for one couple may not work for you. For example, some couples may have pretty straightforward cases with plenty of shared finances, while others may not have joint accounts or even live together yet. The USCIS reviews each case individually, considering factors that make your relationship and situation unique. Now, why does this matter? When you assume the process is the same for everyone, you risk missing important details that apply specifically to your situation. Couples often overlook essential evidence or steps that would make their case stronger because they're following a generic path, rather than first, understanding the full process and the government's expectations, and second, evaluating their unique relationship and preparing a tailor-made application. By recognizing that your case is unique, you can avoid the pitfall of doing the bare minimum, copying what someone else did, or even failing to provide essential information altogether. Instead, you'll know to get the best outcome, you need a tailored approach that meets your specific needs. Mistake number 2 is not gathering sufficient evidence of a bona fide marriage. Next, this is critical. One of the most common mistakes couples make is assuming that their marriage certificate and a few items of documentation such as pictures and some bank statements are enough proof. They think we're married, so that should be sufficient, right? But the USCIS wants to see much more than just a few things showing your interconnectedness. They need proof that you and your spouse have a genuine and legitimate relationship. This can include things like joint leases, shared bank accounts, and family photos over time. Even things like text messages or travel itineraries showing you spent time together can be important. But going back to the first point, including relevant evidence that demonstrates the genuineness of your relationship will be totally unique to you both. And without properly understanding the expectations and requirements of the USCIS and how the marriage adjustment of status process connects and unfolds, you risk delays and even denials. One of the things the USCIS can do is issue a request for evidence called an RFE or a notice of intent to deny, which is a NOID, which can push your timeline back by months. This is a common issue even when couples work with law firms. Collecting and supplying all of the evidence for your case is your responsibility, and oftentimes legal professionals defer to you and submit only what you provided them with. Yes, they may provide you with a list or even some specific items that they request of evidence, but because your relationship is unique in its own ways, creativity is often necessary. And therein lies one of the biggest issues with working with legal professionals. If you're working with them on a flat fee basis, they lose value from your case the more time they spend on it. Meaning a situation like this can occur. They send you a list of evidence that they want. You get back to them that you can't provide certain evidence, and instead of spending more time with you to be creative, they go ahead and send off your application with what you provided them. They move on to their next case, and they wait to see if your case gets accepted or needs to be fixed, which could be argued is the best case scenario for them. Why, you're probably wondering? Because responding to RFEs and NOIDs is not free. Of course, if the legal professional made a serious mistake on their end, they may cover the expense. But understanding the issue with flat fee arrangements, you're likely going to be the one footing the bill. Alternatively, if you choose to work with a professional on an hourly basis, then they'll be more than happy to keep working and spending time in your case. Who doesn't want to make a few $100s per hour? This is why it's so important for immigrant couples to understand the process for themselves. With knowledge of this immigration journey, you're able to assess your own needs on your own timeline, within your own budget, and to the strength you desire. One great first step here is to start with a comprehensive evidence list so you begin to get an idea of what you'll need and to start collecting or making arrangements to collect certain evidence necessary for your case. Our brand new evidence list breaks down the different types of relationship evidence the USCIS is looking for. And it's a great way to make sure you're getting started down the right track, and you can download it right now using the link included in the description below. Now to mistake number 3, which is not checking USCIS forms before submission. Now, evidence is certainly a major area for your focus and can be a source of many mistakes, but I'm going to give you one of the most easily overlooked yet critical mistakes that we see over and over and over again. And make a very special note here, because this should be the very last thing on your checklist before submitting anything to the USCIS. And this is to verify that you're using the most up-to-date USCIS forms. Surprisingly, many couples or even their lawyers end up submitting outdated forms. Now, this may seem like a small error, but it can lead to significant delays in your green card process. Here's why this is so important. The USCIS is constantly updating its forms to reflect changes in regulations, requirements, and policy adjustments. Usually they offer a grace period when new versions are released, meaning they'll still accept older versions for a limited time. But here's a pro tip regarding grace periods. Even during these grace periods, it's actually common for the USCIS to ignore their stated flexibility and still issue requests for evidence stating that the forms submitted were outdated or improper. So what's the pro tip? Even if you've got your entire 300+ page application completed and you're ready to go, but see that the USCIS has updated its forms and they're saying they will still accept the older edition for a few months, ignore their grace period and redo your entire application using the new forms. This hassle will likely save you from receiving an RFE, which can lead to weeks, if not months of delay while you spend time and/or money to correct the issue. Now, some of you may be thinking that, okay, but there's a grace period set by the USCIS, so even if I forget to check the forms, there's still a good chance I'll get approved, right? And truthfully, you'd be correct in making that assessment, except for what just recently happened. The USCIS recently did something completely unexpected. They updated a form with immediate effect for the first time ever with no grace period for older versions. This update caught many people off guard, leading to unexpected delays simply because they weren't aware of the new versions. This can feel so frustrating, especially when you've already spent a bunch of time preparing your application. Thankfully, you won't have to experience either of these issues because you've just written down that checking the forms from the USCIS website is the very last thing you do before you or your lawyer submits your application. And you'll also benefit in another way. You'll gain some serious points from your immigrant couple friends after sharing this video with them. Now, just to recap, as a very last step, confirm that every form in your application packet is the latest version. The USCIS lists the current form version at the bottom of each form page, along with the expiration date on top of each form, so it's very easy to double check. Now, mistake number 4, relying on outdated online information. Finally, let's discuss probably the biggest source of mistakes that immigrant couples make and that you probably can relate to. And that is relying on outdated or generic information you find online. Now, don't get me wrong, the internet can be super helpful. But immigration laws and requirements are constantly changing, and the video, Reddit post, or lawyer blog that was accurate last year might be missing key updates today. This has been the risk plaguing immigrant couples trying to responsibly handle this incredibly important process to their lives, since the internet enabled the free expression and distribution of information. While the internet contains an immense amount of useful information, it rarely is presented in a curated way that is also regularly maintained over time. When couples start piecing together information they have been collecting from different sources online, they likely end up skipping over essential requirements and leaving their application incomplete. This mistake can have serious consequences, as incomplete applications often lead to being unaccepted, RFEs, or in worst cases, even denials. Beyond the challenge of piecing together a complete understanding of the process from your own research, it's difficult to feel confident that you've covered all of the nuances specific to your situation. This is why having a resource that's complete and always up to date is so important. Our marriage immigration method, for example, is designed to stay current with any USCIS updates, and by delivering the complete process and expectations to you, you're able to tailor your application to your unique needs. This way, you're not just assembling a bunch of pieces and hoping that they fit together to complete the puzzle. You're actually getting the completed picture of the puzzle and a complete roadmap on how to assemble them properly that's relevant to today's requirements and your specific situation. Now, thank you for watching. Subscribe, click the bell, and we look forward to seeing you next week.